The call from my mother lit up my phone screen like a bomb waiting to detonate. After 5 years of silence, there it was. Her name, still saved as Mom, despite everything. My finger hovered over the decline button, but something made me answer. "Ingrid, sweetheart." Her voice hadn't changed, that same sugary sweetness that once convinced me she actually cared. "I'm Ingrid Wright, and the last time I heard that voice, she was explaining why my brother King deserved our family estate more than I did. Because he's the man of the family now," she'd said, as if that made perfect sense in 2023. "What do you want?" I kept my voice steady, gripping my coffee mug so hard my knuckles turned white. "Can't a mother check on her daughter?" A pause. "I've been thinking about you." I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. 5 years of not thinking about me, and now suddenly I'm on your mind. My office door cracked open and Roslyn, my best friend and marketing director, poked her head in. One look at my face, and she knew. She slipped inside, closing the door quietly behind her. "Actually, darling," Mom continued, "I need to discuss something important with you about the future. The future. That's rich coming from the woman who destroyed my past. I'm running a company, Mom. I'm busy." "A company?" She sounded genuinely surprised, as if she'd expected me to be living in a cardboard box after she'd given King everything. "That's wonderful. What kind of—" "Stop!" I cut her off, meeting Rosalind's concerned gaze across my desk. "Whatever you need, ask King. He got the house, the money, everything else. I'm sure he'd be happy to help." The silence on the other end spoke volumes. King isn't in a position to help right now. Of course he wasn't. I'd heard rumors about his gambling, his failed business ventures. The fortune he'd been handed on a silver platter, dissolving like sugar in rain. "That's not my problem." I kept my voice ice cold, even as my hands shook. "You made your choice 5 years ago. Live with it." "Ingrid, please. I'm your mother." "Are you?" The words exploded out of me. "Because mothers don't do what you did. They don't look their daughter in the eye and tell her she's worth less than her brother. They don't throw away 28 years of relationship over some outdated notion of family legacy." Rosalind moved closer, placing a steadying hand on my shoulder. I hadn't realized I'd stood up. "I did what I thought was best at the time." Mom's voice wavered. "But things are different now. You need money." The realization hit me like a slap. "That's what this is about, isn't it? King burned through everything and now you're scrambling." Her silence confirmed it. "Well, let me tell you something, Mom. That company you were so surprised about, I built it from nothing. No inheritance, no help, not even a word of encouragement from my own mother. Just blood, sweat, and the burning desire to prove you wrong. Sweetheart, please." "I'm not finished." My voice rose. "You want to talk about the future? Fine. Come to my office next Thursday at 2 p.m. I'll show you exactly what your daughter became without you." I hung up before she could respond, collapsing back into my chair. The phone clattered onto my desk, screen finally dark. "Holy shit," Roslyn whispered. "Are you okay?" I wasn't okay. I was trembling with rage, with hurt, with a twisted sort of satisfaction. She has some nerve, doesn't she? 5 years of nothing and now she needs money. Roslyn perched on the edge of my desk. "What are you planning?" I looked up at her, a smile spreading across my face that didn't quite reach my eyes. "Remember that retirement home we toured last month for the corporate philanthropy program? The really depressing one on the edge of town? What about it?" "I think I just found its newest resident." I pulled up my calendar, marking next Thursday's appointment. "It's time to show my dear mother exactly what karma looks like." Rosalind's eyes widened. "Ingrid, don't try to talk me out of this." I stood, walking to the window overlooking the city skyline. My city, my success, my revenge. She took everything from me once. Now it's my turn to take something from her. Her dignity? No. I turned back to face Roslyn. Her power. She doesn't get to waltz back into my life expecting handouts. Not after what she did. Next Thursday, she'll learn exactly who her daughter became, not despite her actions, but because of them. The sun was setting behind me, casting long shadows across my office floor. In 1 week, I would face my mother again, and this time, I'd be the one holding all the cards. The thought should have made me feel guilty, but all I felt was a cold, satisfying certainty that justice was finally within reach. And the Business Innovation Award goes to Ingrid Wright. The ballroom erupted in applause as I rose from my seat, smoothing down my black designer dress. 5 years of work had led to this moment. As I walked to the stage, I caught glimpses of familiar faces, competitors who'd dismissed me, investors who'd turned me down, all now watching me accept one of the industry's highest honours. "Thank you," I said, gripping the Crystal Award. When I started this company, I had nothing but determination and spite. A ripple of laughter went through the crowd. Sometimes the best motivation comes from people telling you what you can't do. My eyes found Tinsley, my business partner, who raised her champagne glass with a knowing smile. She'd been there from the beginning, when I was working out of a cramped apartment with second-hand furniture and maxed-out credit cards. After the ceremony, Tinsley cornered me at the bar. "Spite and determination, huh?" She signaled the bartender for 2 martinis. "Speaking of spite, how are you holding up about Thursday?" "I'm fine." I wasn't fine. The upcoming meeting with my mother had been consuming my thoughts all week. "Liar!" Tinsley handed me a martini. "Clint's been asking about you, by the way. Says you've been ignoring his calls." I groaned. Clint Armstrong, successful real estate developer and persistent suitor, had been trying to get me to commit to more than casual dates for months. "I don't have time for relationship drama right now." "Ingrid," Tinsley's voice softened. "You can't keep using work as a shield forever." "Watch me." I took a long sip of my drink. "Besides, Thursday is about closure, not revenge." She cut me off. "Don't let this consume you." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from King. "Heard about your award. Mum's worried sick about Thursday. What are you planning?" "Speaking of consumption," I showed Tinsley the text. "Look who's suddenly concerned. Are you going to respond?" I deleted the message. He had 5 years to be concerned. 5 years to step up when he saw what he was doing to our mother's finances. Instead, he gambled away everything our father built. "Ms. Wright?" A photographer approached. "Could we get a photo with your award?" I posed, smiled, played the part of the successful businesswoman everyone expected to see. The flash went off, capturing the moment for posterity. Me in my expensive dress, holding the Crystal Award, looking every bit the success story. Later that night, as my car service drove me home, another text came through. This time from Roslyn. "Your story is trending on the business news sites. Self-made success. How Ingrid Wright built an empire from nothing. You're officially a big deal, boss." I smiled despite myself. The empire I'd built wasn't just about money. It was about proving something. To my mother, to King, to myself. Every contract won. Every deal closed. Every award received was another brick in the wall between who I used to be and who I'd become. My phone buzzed again. "Clint. Congratulations, beautiful. Let me take you to dinner to celebrate." I stared at the message, remembering Tinsley's words about using work as a shield. Maybe she was right, but now wasn't the time to let my guard down. "Thanks, but busy week ahead. Rain check?" His response came quickly. "You can't avoid real connections forever, Ingrid. Some of us actually care about you, not just what you've achieved." The words hit harder than I expected. I turned off my phone and pressed my forehead against the cool car window, watching the city lights blur past. Back in my penthouse apartment, I placed the award on my shelf, next to the others I'd accumulated. Each one represented a victory, but tonight they felt hollow somehow. I walked to my home office and pulled out the folder I'd prepared for Thursday. Inside was everything. Bank statements showing the steady decline of the family estate under King's management, photos of the retirement home, and one one-way ticket to a new life my mother never wanted. Justice. served cold and calculated. My phone lit up with a final message from Roslyn. Just remember, revenge might feel good, but it won't heal what's broken. Love you, girl. Get some sleep. I closed the folder and poured myself a nightcap. Tomorrow I had meetings, contracts to review, an empire to run. But in my mind, I was already in Thursday's confrontation, finally saying all the things I'd held back for 5 years. The award caught the light from my window, sending crystal reflections dancing across the wall. Success was supposed to be the best revenge, but somehow it wasn't enough. Not yet. Thursday would change that, or at least, that's what I kept telling myself as I stared out at the city I'd conquered, feeling more alone than ever. Thursday arrived with the weight of an executioner's axe. I stood at my office window watching the street below, waiting for my mother to arrive. The folder sat on my desk like a loaded gun. "Your 2 o'clock is here." My assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. I smoothed my blazer. "Send her up." The door opened, and there she was. 5 years had aged her more than I expected. Her hair was completely grey now, her designer clothes replaced by department store bargains. But her eyes, those manipulative, calculating eyes, hadn't changed a bit. "Ingrid." She stepped forward, arms outstretched for a hug I didn't offer. "Your office is impressive. Have a seat, Mom." I gestured to the chair across from my desk, maintaining the formal distance between us. She sat clutching her worn purse like a lifeline. "I saw the news about your award. I always knew you had potential." "Stop." I held up my hand. "Let's not pretend you believed in me. We both know why you're here." "I made mistakes," she admitted, her voice trembling. "But I'm still your mother. Surely that counts for something." Before I could respond, my office door burst open. Roslyn rushed in, slightly out of breath. "Sorry to interrupt, but King is in the lobby, demanding to come up." My mother's face lit up. "You should let him join us. We could be a family again." "No." I pressed the intercom. "Security, please escort my brother out of the building." "Ingrid!" Mom stood up, outraged. "He's your brother." "Is he? Because last time I checked, brothers don't steal their sister's inheritance and gamble it away." I pulled out the folder. "Speaking of which, let's talk about why you're really here." Her face fell as I spread out the documents, bank statements, property assessments, newspaper clippings about King's failed ventures. "How did you get these?" she whispered. "Money buys excellent investigators." I leaned forward. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out? That King lost everything? That you're facing foreclosure on your condo?" Roslyn lingered by the door, watching the scene unfold. My mother's hands shook as she picked up one of the bank statements. "We can fix this," she pleaded. "Together, as a family. You're successful now, you could—" "Help?" I laughed bitterly. "Like you helped me? By leaving me with nothing while King destroyed everything Dad built? I thought he would take care of both of us." Tears welled in her eyes. "He promised. And you believed him because he was the son, the man of the family." I stood up, walking to my awards shelf. "While you were believing in him, do you know what I was doing? Working 18-hour days, living on ramen noodles, building something from nothing because my own mother decided I wasn't worth investing in." My phone buzzed. Clint again. I ignored it. "Please," Mom whispered. "I have nowhere else to go." "Actually," I pulled out the retirement home brochure. "You do." Her face crumpled as she realized what she was looking at. "You can't be serious." "One-way ticket, small but clean room, 3 meals a day." I slid the admission papers across the desk. "More than you gave me." "Ingrid." Roslyn stepped forward, her voice soft. "Maybe." "No." I cut her off. "This is happening." My mother stood up, anger finally breaking through her facade of remorse. "I raised you better than this. You raised me to be exactly this." I met her gaze steadily. "Calculated, ruthless, focused on what I deserve. Remember those lessons, Mom? The ones you taught me while explaining why King deserved everything and I deserved nothing?" A commotion outside drew our attention. King's voice carried through the door, arguing with security. Mom moved toward the sound, but I blocked her path. "Sign the papers," I said quietly, "or leave with nothing." Your choice. She stared at me for a long moment, tears streaming down her face. What happened to my little girl? She grew up. She learned. She succeeded. I pushed the papers closer. Despite you, not because of you. The silence stretched between us, heavy with years of hurt and betrayal. Finally, with shaking hands, she picked up the pen. You'll regret this, she said as she signed. Someday, you'll understand what family really means. I already do. I gathered the signed papers. That's why I'm doing this. As security escorted her out, Rosalind touched my arm. Are you okay? I wasn't okay. I was triumphant and heartbroken, powerful and empty all at once. But watching my mother walk away, knowing I'd finally taken control of our relationship, I felt something else too. A crushing weight of finality. I need a drink, I said finally. A strong one. The sun was setting outside my window, casting long shadows across the office where I'd just severed the last ties to my family. Tomorrow I'd deal with the consequences. Tonight, I just needed to breathe. The bar was nearly empty at 4 p.m., just how I liked it. Rosalind sat beside me, nursing a gin and tonic while I worked on my second whiskey neat. You know what the worst part is? I swirled the amber liquid. She didn't even apologize. Not really. Just made excuses about King's promises. Speaking of King, Rosalind pulled out her phone, showing me a social media post. It was him at a casino dated last week, throwing chips around like confetti. He's still at it. Of course he is. I downed the rest of my drink. Dad's probably rolling in his grave. Ms. Wright. A familiar voice made me turn. Clint stood there in his perfectly tailored suit, concern etched on his face. Rosalind texted me. I shot my friend a betrayed look. She shrugged unapologetically. You needed someone who isn't caught up in all this family drama. I don't need anyone, I muttered, but didn't protest when Clint sat down. Rough day? He asked, ordering a scotch. You could say that. I just sentenced my mother to a retirement home and had security throw my brother out of my building. Pretty standard Thursday. His hand found mine on the bar. Want to talk about it? Not really. But the whiskey had other ideas. You know what she said? That I'd regret this, that I'd understand what family means someday. And what do you think family means? Clint's thumb traced circles on my palm. Before I could answer, my phone lit up with a text from Tinsley. Your brother's at the office again. Says he won't leave until he talks to you. Damn it. I stood up, wobbling slightly. I need to handle this. You need to sit down, Clint said firmly. You're in no state to handle anything. I'm fine. I grabbed my purse. Rosalind, you coming? She looked between me and Clint. Actually, I think you should let him drive you. Traitor. But I didn't argue when Clint led me to his car, his hand steady on my elbow. The drive to my office was quiet until Clint spoke. You know, pushing everyone away won't make the pain stop. Worked so far. I watched the city blur past. Built an empire, didn't I? At what cost? I didn't answer. We pulled up to my building where King was arguing with the security guard. He looked awful. Expensive suit wrinkled, eyes wild. Ingrid! He spotted me getting out of the car. What did you do to Mom? Gave her exactly what she deserves. I straightened my spine, grateful for Clint's steadying presence behind me. Just like she did to me. She's crying in her condo, packing up her things. He stepped closer, reeking of alcohol. How could you? How could I? My voice rose. How could you gamble away everything Dad built? How could you watch Mom give you everything and not even try to take care of her? I made mistakes. No, I cut him off. Mistakes are what normal people make. You systematically destroyed our family's legacy while Mom cheered you on, and now you both want me to fix it. Security moved forward, but King held up his hands. I just want to talk. Please, Ingrid. Remember when we were kids? When we promised to always look out for each other? That was before you let Mom tear our family apart. The whiskey made my words sharp. Before you stood there silently while she told me I was worth less than you. I was wrong. His voice cracked. We were both wrong. But this, sending Mom to that place, it won't fix anything. Clint stepped forward. Maybe we should take this conversation somewhere private. There's nothing to discuss. I turned to the security guard. If he comes back, call the police. Ingrid, wait! King called after me as I walked into the building. What about forgiveness? What about family? I stopped, turning slowly. Family. Family is what I built after you and Mom destroyed mine. Family is Roslyn, who believes in me. Tinsley, who helped me build something real. Even Clint, who... I glanced at him, seeing something soft in his eyes. Who shows up when I need someone? We can fix this, King pleaded. No, we can't. The elevator doors opened. Some things once broken stay broken. Go home, King. Take care of Mom while you still can. The retirement home van comes on Monday. As the elevator carried me up, I heard King's voice fade away. Clint stood beside me, silent but present. You okay? He asked finally. No. I leaned against the wall. But I will be. Want company? I looked at him. Really looked at him. For the first time in months. Yeah, I said softly. I think I do. The elevator continued its climb, carrying me away from the wreckage of my old family and toward something else. Something that felt almost like hope. You're doing what? Tinsley slammed her coffee mug down on my desk. Ingrid, you can't seriously be considering dinner with Clint tonight. Not with everything else going on. Why not? I kept scrolling through emails. Life goes on, right? Life goes on. 3 days ago, you sentenced your mother to a retirement home. Your brother's having a meltdown, and now you're going on dates. I finally looked up. What do you want me to do, Tinsley? Sit at home and cry about my broken family? No, I want you to process what's happening instead of... My phone buzzed. Mom's number. I declined the call. That's the 3rd time today, I said. She's getting desperate. Can you blame her? Tinsley perched on my desk. Monday's coming fast. Before I could respond, my assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. Ms. Wright, there's a situation in the lobby. Your mother. What about her? She's here with some reporters. Something about elder abuse and family abandonment. My blood ran cold. She wouldn't. But when I pulled up the lobby security feed on my computer, there she was, my mother, surrounded by local news cameras, tears streaming down her face as she told her story. That manipulative... I grabbed my phone, dialing Roslyn. Get PR down there now. Full damage control. Already on it, Roslyn replied. But Ingrid, this looks bad. Really bad. I watched the scene unfold on my screen. Mom was playing it perfectly. The devastated mother, betrayed by her successful daughter, abandoned in her time of need. Should we call security? Tinsley asked. No. I stood up. That's exactly what she wants. More drama for the cameras. I straightened my jacket. I'm going down there. Ingrid, wait. But I was already moving, anger propelling me forward. The elevator ride felt endless. When the doors opened to the lobby, camera flashes nearly blinded me. There she is, Mom's voice carried across the space. My daughter, who built her empire on the backs of her family. I walked straight toward her, my heels clicking against the marble floor. The cameras swung to follow me. Mom, I said evenly, loud enough for the microphones to pick up. Let's talk about family, shall we? Should we start with how you disinherited me, or how you watched my brother gamble away our father's legacy? Her face faltered. This wasn't part of her script. Ms. Wright, one reporter stepped forward. Your mother claims you're forcing her into a substandard retirement facility. The same facility where our company sponsors senior care programs? I smiled coldly. The one that costs more per month than most people's mortgages? That facility? Mom's tears dried up remarkably fast. Ingrid, please. No, Mom. You wanted to do this publicly? Let's do it publicly. I turned to the cameras. 5 years ago, this woman gave my entire inheritance to my brother because, in her words, he's the man of the family. Now that he's lost everything, she expects me to bail them out. The reporter's interest visibly shifted. One of them already had his phone out, probably fact-checking my claims. That's not... Mom started, but I wasn't finished. The retirement home isn't punishment. It's more than she gave me when she left me with nothing. It's more than she deserves after watching my brother destroy everything our father built. Cut the cameras, one of the reporters muttered. This wasn't the story they'd come for. Mom stood there, her performance crumbling as her plan backfired. I only wanted to talk to you. No, you wanted to manipulate me. Again, I stepped closer. But I'm not that little girl anymore, Mom. Your tears don't work on me now. The reporters were already packing up, their interest in the poor, abandoned mother story evaporating as the truth emerged. Mom watched them go, her face a mask of defeat. Monday morning, I said quietly. The van will be at your condo at 9 a.m. Try another stunt like this and I'll let everyone know exactly how you and King spent Dad's money. She flinched. You wouldn't. Try me. As security escorted her out, my phone buzzed. Clint. Saw the news crews still on for dinner? I looked at Tinsley, who had followed me down. Go, she said softly. You've earned a break from all this. Thanks. I texted back a quick yes, then watched through the lobby windows as my mother's car pulled away. Her latest manipulation had failed, but Monday still loomed ahead, the day I'd finally closed this chapter of my life. You okay? Tinsley asked. No. I turned away from the windows. But I will be. Eventually. The lobby slowly returned to normal, but something had shifted. My mother's last desperate play had backfired, leaving her with nothing but the truth she'd tried so hard to hide. And me? I had dinner plans with someone who saw me for who I was, not what I could give him. Maybe that was progress, or maybe it was just another way to avoid dealing with Monday. Either way, I'd take it. Sunday night found me in my office staring at the retirement home paperwork. Tomorrow morning would change everything, and my stomach churned with a mix of satisfaction and dread. You're here late. Clint's voice startled me. He stood in the doorway holding takeout bags. Thought you might need dinner. How did you get past security? He smiled. Roslyn called. Said you've been holed up here all weekend. Spying on me now? But I was already clearing space on my desk for the food. Caring about you. He set out containers of Thai food. Want to talk about tomorrow? I picked up my chopsticks. Not really. Okay. He opened his own container. Then let's talk about us. Clint. 3 dinners, 2 lunches, and now I'm bringing you late-night comfort food. He met my eyes. What are we doing, Ingrid? Before I could answer, the office door burst open. King stumbled in, clearly drunk. Security! I stood up, but King held up his hands. Wait, please! He steadied himself against the wall. I need to show you something. Clint moved between us. You need to leave. No, look! King pulled out his phone, fingers fumbling as he pulled up a video. Remember this? Despite myself, I looked. It was an old home video. Christmas morning, maybe 15 years ago. Dad was still alive, filming as King and I opened presents. We were laughing, happy, whole. That's what we used to be, King's voice cracked, before money and inheritance and all this mess. You're drunk, I said flatly. Go home. Mom's been crying for days. He pocketed the phone. She barely eats. Is that what you wanted? What I wanted? My voice rose. I wanted a family that valued me. I wanted a mother who saw me as equal to her precious son. I wanted a brother who stood up for me instead of taking everything. I know. He slumped into a chair. I know, and I'm sorry. I screwed up. I screwed everything up. Clint touched my arm. Want me to call security? I shook my head, studying my brother. He looked terrible. Unshaven, clothes wrinkled, eyes bloodshot. Why are you really here, King? Because... He ran a hand through his dishevelled hair. Because I found this today. He pulled out an envelope, handed it to me with shaking hands. Inside was a letter from Dad dated just before he died. My breath caught as I read. My dearest children, the estate isn't just money and property. It's the love your mother and I built together. Share it. Protect it. Take care of each other. Where did you get this? My voice wavered. Mum's condo. She's been packing and... King's eyes filled with tears. We failed him, didn't we? Both of us. No. I crumpled the letter. You failed him. You and Mom. Ingrid, Clint said softly. Maybe... Don't. I turned to King. One letter doesn't erase what you did. What you both did. I know. King stood unsteadily. But tomorrow, that retirement home, it's not what Dad would have wanted. Dad's not here. The words tasted bitter. Because he trusted you both to do the right thing and you didn't. So what's your excuse? King's voice hardened. What's your justification for doing the wrong thing now? The question hit me like a slap. Clint's hand found mine under the desk, squeezing gently. Get out, I whispered, before I call security. King walked to the door, then turned. You know what's funny? You think you're nothing like Mom, but this revenge thing, this need to hurt people who hurt you, that's all her. The door closed behind him, leaving his words hanging in the air like smoke. He's wrong, Clint said quietly. You're nothing like her. Am I? I looked at the retirement home papers, then at Dad's crumpled letter. Because right now, I'm not so sure. The difference is you can still choose differently. He gathered the takeout containers. Tomorrow's coming, whether you're ready or not. The question is, who do you want to be when it gets here? I stared out at the city lights, Dad's words echoing in my head. Take care of each other. We'd all failed at that, hadn't we? Mom, King, me. We'd turned love into a weapon, family into a battlefield. I need to think, I said finally. Clint nodded, understanding. Want company while you think? I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw what I'd been avoiding. Someone who chose to stay, even when things got messy. Yeah, I said softly. I think I do. We sat together in the quiet office, the ghost of my father's words floating between us, while Monday crept closer and choices waited to be made. Monday morning arrived with the weight of an avalanche. I stood outside Mom's condo building, watching the retirement home van pull up. Clint waited in his car nearby, having insisted on being here just in case. The driver approached me. Ms. Wright? We're ready when you are. I checked my watch. 8:55 a.m. Give me a minute. The building's lobby was quiet as I rode the elevator to the 12th floor. Mum's door was open when I arrived, boxes stacked neatly in the hallway. Inside, she sat on her bare mattress, a small suitcase beside her. It's time, I said. She looked up, eyes red from crying. So this is really happening? You signed the papers. Because you gave me no choice. She stood up, anger flaring. Just like I have no choice now. There are always choices, Mom. I picked up her suitcase. You taught me that, remember? When you chose King over me? I chose what I thought was right for the family. And how did that work out? A noise from the hallway made us both turn. King stood there, looking surprisingly sober. What are you doing here? I demanded. I came to help Mom move. He stepped into the room. And to give you this. He held out an envelope. What is it? Open it. Inside was a check, a big one. I looked up, confused. It's everything I have left, King said quietly. My savings, my investments, everything, for Mum's care. Mum gasped. King, no. Yes. He turned to her. I did this. I took the inheritance and wasted it. Let me try to fix it. I stared at the check, then at my brother. This doesn't change anything. Doesn't it? He met my gaze. You wanted revenge, Ingrid. You wanted me to feel what you felt when you lost everything. Well, now I do. I didn't ask for this. No, but Dad would have. He pulled out the letter from last night, smoothed and refolded. Take care of each other, remember? The retirement home driver appeared in the doorway. Ms. Wright, we need to get moving. I looked at Mom, really looked at her. She seemed smaller somehow, more fragile. The angry teenager in me celebrated her defeat, but something else, something that sounded suspiciously like Dad, whispered that this wasn't justice. It was just more pain. Wait, I said to the driver. Then to Mom. If I change my mind about this, what would you do differently? Everything. She stepped toward me. I'd apologize, really apologize, for choosing sides, for making you feel less than, for not being the mother you deserved. And, I prompted. And I'd try to earn back your trust, not with excuses or manipulation, but with actions. She glanced at King. We both would. I pulled out my phone, dialing quickly. Roslyn, remember that downtown condo project Clint's company is developing? The one with the senior living floor? See if there's a unit available. Mom's eyes widened. Ingrid, this isn't forgiveness. I cut her off. Not yet. But maybe it's a start. King moved to hug me, but I stepped back. Don't. This is conditional. You both need to prove you mean what you say. Anything, Mum whispered. Weekly family therapy, both of you. And King, that check? It goes into a trust I control for Mom's care and living expenses. No more gambling. They nodded, hope replacing desperation in their eyes. And Mom? I met her gaze. If you ever try to pit your children against each other again, the retirement home will look like a luxury resort compared to what comes next. She flinched but nodded. I understand. The driver cleared his throat awkwardly. I waved him away, then turned back to my family, this broken, messy thing we'd become. Dad's letter was right, I said finally. We're supposed to take care of each other, but that means all of us equally. No favourites, no manipulation, no more games. Through the window, I saw Clint getting out of his car, concern evident even from 12 stories up. He'd been right too. I could choose differently. Be different. The condo won't be ready for a few weeks, I told Mom. Until then, you can stay in my guest room. If, I added quickly, you respect my boundaries. She nodded, tears flowing freely now. King looked like he might cry too. Don't make me regret this, I warned them both. As we left the condo, Mom to my car, King to help with the boxes, I felt something shift. Not healing exactly. Not yet. But maybe the beginning of something new. Something that honoured Dad's memory better than revenge ever could. Clint met us at the curb. Everything okay? I looked at my strange, damaged family, then back at him. No, I said honestly, but maybe someday it will be. And how does that make you feel, Ingrid? Dr. Patterson leaned back in her chair, watching me carefully. I glanced at Mom and King sitting across the room. This was our 10th family therapy session, and somehow it still felt like pulling teeth. Honestly, I shifted in my seat. I'm tired. Tired of being angry. Tired of holding on to the past. That's progress, the therapist smiled. Last session you couldn't even admit to being angry. Mom cleared her throat. I have something to say. She pulled an envelope from her purse. I've been working on this for weeks. She handed it to me. Inside was a deed to the family estate. I don't understand, I said. King lost this in the bankruptcy. No, King spoke up. I sold it before the bankruptcy, to a holding company owned by Mom. With the money you gave her for living expenses, I felt my anger rising. Let me finish. Mom touched my arm. I bought it back because it never should have been divided in the first place. Your father wanted it shared. She pulled out another document. This puts the estate in both your names. Equally. Dr. Patterson nodded approvingly. That's a significant gesture, Yvonne. It's not enough, Mom continued, but it's a start. A real one this time. I stared at the papers, emotions warring inside me. I don't need this anymore. I built my own life. We know, King said softly. That's why we think you should decide what happens to it. The room fell silent as I processed his words. Through the window, I could see Clint waiting in his car, my steady support through all these sessions. Sell it, I said finally. Use the money to start a foundation in Dad's name for families torn apart by inheritance disputes. Mom's eyes filled with tears. That's perfect. But, I held up a hand, I want to be clear about something. This doesn't fix everything. Trust takes time. We know, they said in unison. Dr. Patterson smiled. This feels like a good place to end today's session. Any final thoughts? I stood up, gathering my things. Just one. Mom, dinner at my place tonight? Clint's cooking. Her face lit up. I'd love that. Outside, Clint opened his car door as I approached. How'd it go? Better than expected. I showed him the papers. Want to help me start a foundation? He pulled me close. I want to help you do anything. Careful what you wish for. I kissed him quickly. I'm still not easy to love. Good thing I like a challenge. From the clinic steps, I watched Mom and King walk to their separate cars. We weren't fixed. Maybe we never would be completely, but we were trying. Really trying. My phone buzzed with a text from Roslyn. Reminder, your motivational speech at the Business Women's Conference is tomorrow. Topic, building success from adversity. I smiled, typing back, change of topic, new title, the true meaning of legacy. You sure? She replied immediately. Looking at my mother getting into her car, at my brother checking his 1-year sobriety chip, at Clint waiting patiently beside me, I'd never been more sure. Legacy isn't about money or property, I said aloud. It's about choices. Deep thoughts for a Thursday afternoon, Clint teased. I'm serious. I turned to face him. I almost let revenge become my legacy. Almost became exactly what I hated. But you didn't. No. I watched Mum's car pull away. I chose differently. My phone buzzed again. A photo from Tinsley. The foundation paperwork was already in progress. Below it, she'd written, "Your dad would be proud." Maybe he would be. Not of how we'd torn ourselves apart, but of how we were trying to put things back together. Not perfectly, not completely, but honestly. Ready to go? Clint asked. I took one last look at the therapy clinic, then at the papers in my hand. The deed that had once meant everything to me now felt light, insignificant, compared to the weight of growth and healing. Yeah, I said, taking his hand. I'm ready. As we drove away, I thought about tomorrow's speech, about telling a room full of ambitious women that true success isn't measured in dollars or revenge served cold, but in the courage to choose healing over hurt, growth over grudges. Mom would be in the audience, so would King. And for the first time, I was glad they would be there. Not because I'd proved them wrong, but because we were all finally learning to be right. You're smiling, Clint noted. Just thinking, I replied, about how sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. He squeezed my hand as we drove toward home, toward dinner with my mother, toward tomorrow's speech, toward a future built on choices rather than consequences. And for once, that felt like enough.